The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a great guest for us today. I was actually on his podcast, the Surviving Abuse podcast. And, of course, as soon as I'm doing my intro, my animals decide to fight. And that's always, it never fails. But to interrupt his intro there, but yeah. David Keck joins the show. David, man, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, no, the pleasure's all mine. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was on your show, the Surviving Abuse podcast, and I got to tell you, I've been following you for a long time. We've actually been following each other because I think we started podcasting at, like, the same time.
Yeah, we were both brand new.
Yeah, so what got you into podcasting, and why did you start your podcast?
Yeah, so COVID. I was, you can tell, I'm sure, by the name of the show, Surviving Abuse. We talk about some deep, dark, heavy topics, but I try to bring light and motivation to the conversation and to the recovery part and focus on that. And so when COVID happened, all therapy stopped. Some of us were lucky enough to have, Zoom meetings with their therapists, but it just wasn't the same. And I felt like I was inviting, if I was having these therapy sessions with my therapist in my house, I felt like I was inviting that negative energy into it. Okay. And I just, I just didn't like that. But I knew that if I was struggling, other people were struggling too. And so I was like, okay, I will spend $1,500 and buy equipment. I'll record 2 episodes. My mom will give it a heart. I'll get bored with it. And then I'll cuss myself out for spending that much money on stuff that just sits in a closet. And man, I was so wrong. The community I've built, the people that I've met, it's been incredible.
Yeah, your show is just kind of like really taken off. And I got to tell you, it's a nice change of pace. I've been listening to it on my way to work, and it's really been. I mean, I got about a half hour, 45-minute drive, which gets me pretty much through the episode. And I got to tell you, I've learned more about certain things that I didn't know about just by listening to your show. Was that kind of what you were trying to do with the show?
I honestly wasn't sure. I am an open gay man in the South. I was a victim of a brutal hate crime 8 years ago. I kind of thought that was going to be my target. And then there was a lot of women that were attracted to the subject and wanted to share stories. And then Johnny Depp's stuff became public. And then all of a sudden these alpha males were reaching out to me that they saw their hero talking about being abused, and they were like, he didn't lose his masculinity. I want to open up about mine. And so I didn't really have a plan. I just figured as being a gay man that would be my target audience, and I was wrong with that too. We're such a coat of many colors. We're all genders and identifications and abuses, and like it's just been amazing.
Well, you got another straight man here with being a big fan of the show. Oh, and as you heard, like in the background when I was on your show, the wife's here too now, and you better be. So,
and you know how much I love her.
She was so excited that we were doing this interview today and that you were coming on the podcast. She was like, "Oh, we get to talk to David again." Yeah. Like, she was so excited. And I was like, "I'm right here, honey." Like, all right, like no, she's been talking about you a lot since I've been on your show and we recorded that show, and she can't get enough of you. I got to tell you that you got another fan in her.
That's what I try to tell straight men, especially the ones that don't really like gay men. I'm like, you better be glad I'm not straight. I would be taking your women. Like, you need to love that I'm gay.
I'm right here, honey. She's looking at me going, and she's shaking her head, real like eyes big. I'm like, I'm right here. This is why
She's my heart.
This is why we work, man. Like, yeah. She also understands that I married the comedian. Like, I need to find funny in any situation. Did you try to do that with your situation, or was it a lot darker with what happened with you?
It was very important to me to make a sandwich. And, even in my day jobs, or my day job, I work in human resource for a huge company, and I always try to make a sandwich. I can't open the door with negativity and lead on negativity. And I did not want my show to be about that either. I never want anyone to log off of my show thinking I need a drink in a bad way, or I want to lay down and go to sleep, I'm exhausted. I want them to log off and feel motivated to do something and to maybe try something different for their recovery. So I try to open with something fun and end with something fun, because the middle part is that deep, dark, heavy shit. But I want to show that. One of the comments that I get pretty often about my show is people are saying, but you're laughing, talking about your trauma, you're smiling, talking about it. And absolutely, I want to normalize the topic, and I want it to be known that you can start to enjoy the ride, and that's what I've done, and that's when I gained my control back, is when I started to enjoy the ride. And because I finally, I remember that moment when I got to, it's either I can laugh or cry, and damn it, I'm tired of crying.
It takes a whole lot more energy to be angry and upset than it does to be happy.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how I've lived my entire life. Like, I've had people even coming up to me, it's about a year ago, Mel, honey? Is it? Yeah. About a year ago, my mom's real father, who I never really knew growing up, passed away. And, I was at the funeral, and people were like, "Why are you so upbeat and cracking jokes right now?" It's like, what is being said? Is it going to bring him back if we're sad and we're upset about it? Or can we all kind of laugh and joke and have a good time while we're here? I mean, it doesn't mean we're not going to mourn him, but I think he would want it that way. Us all laughing and joking and having a good time. And I got to tell this story because it's my wife's favorite story. And yeah, she already knows what's coming, because it's my grandfather on my dad's side was there. Those two didn't get along at all. Not my dad and my mom's real dad and my grandfather didn't get along at all. Well, my grandfather has his hearing aids in. He can barely hear as it is, but he never turns them up enough. So he doesn't realize that A, he's Italian, so he's loud as it is, and B, how loud he's actually talking. So we're sitting in the back of the funeral home, and it's just some immediate family there at this point in time. We got there kind of early and everything like that. And he turns to my wife and he goes, I don't expect anyone to be here. He was kind of an asshole and nobody liked him. And he said it that loud. Like, that is how loud he said it in the back of the funeral home. And my dad just turns and goes, Jesus Christ, Dad, shut the fuck up. And, like, they're having an argument in the back of the funeral home. While other people... My wife had to walk away because she was in tears laughing so hard. Because he just started talking so loud. And then my grandmother, his wife, turns and looks at him. She goes, why don't you say it a little louder, Paff? I don't think you'll wake the dead. Mel might wake up and hear you. And I was like, oh my God, what did we walk into? So that's my family. That's what, you know what I mean? So, like, you got to be a part of the joke, and you got to learn to laugh at things like this. And, you know, it's something that should have been sad, but it was fun. We left the funeral home laughing and telling jokes.
Yeah. Like, there's no real PC way for me to say this, but
we're not worried about PC.
I hope I'm invited to the next funeral that your family has. Like, they sound amazing.
they are, and I gotta tell you, I'll tell you this: you and my Uncle Joel would get along phenomenally.
I love it. Sign me up.
My Uncle Joel, he's a gay man, and I love him to death.
He's my favorite
and he is my wife's favorite relative. She loves him to death because we're born and raised in West Virginia, so we kind of have a little bit of a drawl, apparently. People always say that I have an accent.
We have a twang.
I don't hear it, a twang. I guess it is. But my uncle, and again, I don't mean to sound rude to you, but he has that gay lisp on top of that too as well. So he has a very unique voice.
Yeah.
And he has some sayings and some catchphrases that my wife absolutely loves. Anything and everything, he looks at everyone and goes, ain't you excited? And, like, that's how he talks. Like, and she loves him. And she goes, can I sit by Uncle Joel at every family gathering? I just want to sit and talk to Uncle Joel. I was like, if he's there, and his favorite thing to do is to just announce that he's leaving and then just leave.
It's the Irish goodbye with an announcement.
Yeah, it's an Irish goodbye, but he just goes, got to go, bye, and he leaves.
He bolts.
And done.
And gone. You'll never see him. People think he's kidding, like, oh, he'll be back. I'm like, no, he won't.
No,
he's gone. He's done. He's probably
done.
Already home.
He's at his house.
Yeah.
He's blazing one right now.
Yeah, he's a big partaker, if we'll say, on that. And,
I love that. I need to meet Uncle Joel.
Oh, my wife just reminded me of this. And, yeah, my Uncle Joel has a roommate, we'll say, and, you know, she is a psychic. And she goes with him everywhere.
She's his companion.
She's in the obituary, because it was his dad that died. They put everybody, and they said Joel Clark Jr. and companion Cheryl. Like, they worded it that way, so that's his companion. She's at every family function. She's
just not good.
But I gotta tell you, I love this woman to death. She's not a good psychic at all. Not even close. Like, okay, my wife and I, we can't have any more kids. We have our son. It is what it is. And we were at Christmas?
It was Christmas.
It was Christmas. And she comes up to us. We hadn't seen her in a year. And she goes, oh my God, congratulations, you two. We were like, for what? That we made the 2-hour drive here in the snow and we made it and we didn't wreck? And she was just like, no, you guys are pregnant. We're like, no, we're not. Like, there's, like, we
I had to have a hysterectomy 3 days before my 23rd birthday.
Did you hear that?
Something about the 23rd birthday?
My wife had to have a hysterectomy before her 23rd birthday. So before I even met her. Like, so we literally can't have kids. Like,
right.
There's no chance. I mean, we could try all we want, but it's just, it's not going to happen. But, and she was like, well, are you sure? We're like, pretty fucking sure.
I would have had so much fun with that. I would have been like, if I was your wife, I would have looked at Mike had been like, so you knocked up somebody while you're on one of your comedy tours, and now I'm going to have to raise this child? Is that what this psychic is telling me? And just make it a big whole thing all weekend long. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, you know what?
It was still kind of fresh.
We were still trying to process. Like, what is this woman saying? And then we didn't realize my wife's sister was pregnant.
Yeah. So she kind of
had it right, but she wasn't.
You know,
like, but
same church, different pew.
Yeah,
right.
But she just comes up all excited. Oh, congratulations! Have you told anyone? Told them what? Like we didn't know what to do. But yeah, that's it.
Like no one's slipping anything past this goalie. You know what I mean?
Well, I do have a psychic friend. Since we're sharing psychic friend stories, so her name is Jeanette Lucas, and she's actually world known, especially in the true crime, the true crime comedy industry. She was part of like the O.J. Simpson case and the Kaylee and Casey Anthony case, and like her prediction, like she was what led them to find Kaylee Anthony's body that with Casey and stuff. And so my partner and I decided. I guess last winter, we live in Tennessee, and so we're close to, the Carolinas, and we have some friends that were like, they just had their first baby, and it was like their first trip without all that newness. It's kind of more often we can trust you to stay. We can trust the mom and dad to keep the baby for the weekend, and we're going to go with some friends. We rented out this Airbnb, but it was a freaking castle. Like we pulled out, we're like, wait, we did this? And so it was amazing. And they are very athletic, and they were all excited about skiing. I had went once, and I thought I did okay. But my partner, Cody, had never been skiing. But he, he's young and thinks that he's untouchable at this point. So he's like, everything's great, everything's fine. So I'm literally packing the suitcases, like taking the price tags and tags off of the snow gear and boots and stuff that just came in from Amazon. And my phone rings, and it was Jeanette Lucas. And if Jeanette Lucas calls your phone, you answer your damn phone, So I stop everything I'm doing to answer my phone. And Jeanette says, hey, David, are you going somewhere that could potentially be life-threatening? And I was like, I'm going on a ski trip with some friends. And she said, oh, just stay on the beginner slopes and you'll be fine. I see some damage to your left arm if you go above the beginner slopes. And it's funny because my buddy and I were talking about how we'll leave the girls, my partner and his wife, at the beginner slope, and that I'm a daredevil and that I'll go to the expert, and we just had this running conversation with it. And of course I would have done it because I thought, worst case, I just roll down the hill, right? And then Jeanette Lucas called and told me that, and I was like, okay. So I stayed on the beginner slope. I went down one time, and then I sat at the bar by the fireplace, and I looked out the window, judged everybody, and had some hot toddies, and it was amazing.
That sounds like my kind of ski trip. Sitting by the fire, having a drink, and just judging everybody. Like, that is what my wife and I enjoy to do. Like, we love, even where we live, we sit on our back porch or underneath our canopy, and we just kind of sit there, and we'll just kind of observe the neighborhood, and that's just kind of what we do. And like, people will walk by, and well, it's mainly to watch our Breaking Bad neighbors that we have. We didn't realize that when we bought the house. It's bad.
It's so obvious
and
now.
We didn't realize it because they had a bunch of cars, old beat up, broken down cars. They have the Jurassic Park mobile in their backyard. Like,
that is a true story.
Picture perfect from the first Jurassic Park, the Explorer. They have it in their backyard, and a big camper. And at first we're like, oh, okay, they have a camper. They probably go camping, blah, blah, blah. And then the camper never leaves. And
never moves.
People keep going in and out of it. And there's a funny smell. It's like, oh, it's meth. That's what they're doing back there. Like, oh, okay. And it's so obvious. And we have fires. I'm afraid to have a bonfire in my backyard because I don't want an amber to hit that camper and then blow the entire neighborhood up.
Yeah, but our neighbor is also a sheriff on the other side.
Yeah, right across the street from this guy, a sheriff does nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Well, I guess when he's at home in his driveway, when he's off the clock, so he's like, I'm not working right now.
Right.
You know?
It is what it is over there.
Fuck it. Like, that's just kind of his attitude about it, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it. But I hate to sing, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But, so I wanted to kind of tell your story a little bit. You kind of mentioned a little bit of what happened and why you started the podcast. Do you mind going into a little bit of what trauma you actually went through, and can you talk about that a little bit on here? If you're
absolutely. I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. I do want to give a trigger warning, and I want to start out by saying too that I always want to preface this story with a couple things. I will never compare my trauma to someone else's, and I would not want someone to compare theirs to mine. What I went through is the hardest thing I went through. What you go through is the hardest thing you went through. There's no greater than or less than. Another thing that I want to preface with is there's parts of the story that is a lot of hearsay, because I don't have memory of it from the trauma that happened. It's stuff that was said in court by my attacker, and is he really that trustworthy? So with evidence, a few witnesses, a few video camera surveillance stuff were able to fit together a story that definitely is factual, but there's that in-between stuff that it may not be 100% actually what happened. So allow me some grace with that. Is all I ask. So it was 8 years ago, and I mentioned that I'm from Tennessee, and if anybody, especially now, knows what's going on with Tennessee, and being in the South, they've never really cheered me on, right, or my community on. But I'm still to this day so lucky and so blessed. I have such an amazing family. Being gay was never an issue or a thing, and so I did not know hate existed until 8 years ago. I seen it on TV, but it never truly touched me. And I was going through a breakup. A guy and I had been together for a couple years. We thought about marriage and building a home together. And then we decided, you know what, let's break up instead. And so I was a little down and depressed about that. And so it was like 2 days into my breakup, and some friends called me. There's a bar that we go to on a regular basis, and it's a karaoke bar. It's predominantly straight, and we're such a diverse crowd, and I never felt out of place there. I would get on stage and sing Shania Twain, Man, I Felt Like a Woman, and the men would come up, buy me a beer, do a shot with me, and we would high five, and it was fun. I never felt threatened there. It was just a really cool place. It truly was our cheers. And so my friends called me and they're like, hey, we know you're down and depressed, but it's Deanna's birthday. We're wanting to go karaoke. Please come with us. And I agreed to that. I was like, you know what? That sounds great. So I agreed to that. And I went, and we, had a table close to the stage where we get on and sing. We had done a couple of songs, had a couple drinks. I get up to go to the restroom, and this stuff is caught on surveillance. So I get up and go to the restroom, and this guy stops me, and we're conversing, and it looks like a pleasant conversation. Obviously, there's no audio, but it looks like a pleasant conversation, and I give him a business card because I was just starting a new business venture, and so this business card has my information, right?
Right.
And so we talk for a moment. I go to the restroom by myself. I come back, walk right past him, get with my friends. We finish our cocktail, pay our tabs. Surveillance cameras show that we walk out together. And then 3 minutes later, it shows him walking out. After he leaves the entryway of the door, there's no cameras out there. But my friends say that they were in their car and that they hadn't left the parking lot yet, but they seen me leaving the parking lot looking like I'm fine by myself. Like they had no idea, like they probably didn't even realize somebody else had walked out the door after us. So the next thing I know, I wake up at a hospital. What had happened during that time, and this is the part that's a little bit of hearsay, and I don't know the complete facts of it other than what looks like happened and what we feel like happened is this man, who is a straight man who was just recently discharged from the military for drugs, had a fight with baby mama, and she kicked him out. So he drove to my hometown, which is like an hour away, to hang out with some friends. And when I gave him the business card, I looked, I've always been a small guy, and he's trained military. I give him a business card, and he assumed I would be an easy target and have a lot of money. So we're thinking he followed me home or Googled my information and found my address and knocked on my door. And I lived in a nice, safe community. I didn't really have fears of anything. I probably would have opened the door. The guy next door to me was a bartender. He would knock on my door at several different hours of the day and night to come in and have a beer. Like it wasn't really a thing, right? And so my attacker said that, that he knew how to have me knocked out at first hit, and that's what he did. So we're thinking he knocked on my door. I opened it. He knocked me out. From there, I was dragged from room to room, and the blood trails show that. It was literally like a horror film. You could see the claw marks from the walls, where I was, I guess, trying to grab onto things. You could see dents and holes in the walls, blood splatter, where my head took a lot of trauma. He spent an estimated amount of 2 to 3 hours sexually assaulting me with his body, as well as foreign objects. They were finding, when I had to go through the rape test, which is where they collect evidence, right? They were finding candle wax and pieces of plastic and things where he was using candles and stuff like spatulas to also abuse me with. There was, every room had a trail of blood. So obviously I'm not sure what all happened during that time, but the phone records do show that he used my cell phone to call the mother of his child. And she even confessed that he had done that and that he had confessed to what he had done. And she was saying, you've got to turn yourself in. You've got to turn yourself in, because he was saying, I killed this dude. He's flopping like a fish out of water. His mouth is turning blue. And then I guess I stopped seizuring, if that's what was happening at that time. And so he was like, no, he's dead now. I know that he's dead. So he stole my car and took my cash and credit cards and went bar hopping, covered in my blood. And while he was at a bar, he was bragging about the F slur that he just murdered. The patrons notified the bartender, and they kicked him out. That was it. So now he's had drinks and got kicked out to get behind the wheel of my car, which was probably a little bit of a blessing because shortly, like a mile or two from there, he wrecked my car like into like this big like ditch embankment. And so when the cops showed up, he confessed to murder, but he told them that he murdered a gay guy because the gay guy was propositioning him for sex. And he even said in court that he knew that if he said that, they would go easier on him. And they did. They never put him in cuffs. They bought him a pack of cigarettes and let him have a couple of smoke breaks and went through a McDonald's drive-thru. During this time, my body still had not been found. So the doctor even got on trial and said David has some brain damage and now has epileptic seizure or non-epileptic seizures because of going 18 hours with lack of oxygen. which could have been cut in half had they started their investigation without going to McDonald's and to get cigarettes.
Good old boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my ID, which they also found on him, had my old address because I just recently moved. And so that's why it took so long for them to find me. Luckily, when my car was impounded and they were actually trying to clean it out in the back, a little pocket of the back seat, they found the lease to my new apartment with my address. So they go to that apartment, and my landlady takes them up to my apartment, and that's where they find me. They had the blanket and everything to pronounce me dead, but when they were covering me up, my foot moved. And the detective, who is actually amazing and still a part of my life today, like I literally saw him today, he was like, "Oh my God, this guy's not dead." And so they rushed me to the emergency room. They did the rape test. But man, it was so crazy because I'm gay and people want to hate that so much. This man who sexually assaulted me, they said, "How do we know that this was sexual assault? You're a gay man. Maybe this is your fetish. Maybe you wanted those candles and spatulas inside you, and maybe it just went too far after that." I will not judge anybody and what their fetishes are. If it is two adults that are consensual in the right state of mind, preferably human, then have at whatever it is that you do. I've never had that desire. So when he was sent to jail, they also test you for STDs. Of course, during the exam, they're testing me for STDs. They can actually test and see around how long you've had that. And so he tested positive for syphilis, and so did I. Mine was brand new. His was older than mine. But they said, "You're a gay man. How do we know that you didn't have consensual sex and you were the one that gave him the syphilis?" Luckily, syphilis is curable and whatever, but you want to victim blame people? That's like saying when a woman gets assaulted and they're like, "Well, how short was her skirt? How low was her top?" I don't give a damn. Right. I don't care if she goes and checks her mailbox in her bikini. I don't care if you were married to someone for 25 years and you give them permission to be inside you and 3 minutes later you say get out and they don't, it's rape. And so I just have a hard time wrapping my mind around that, and that's part of my passion. You could probably tell in my voice is part of my passion that I'm wanting to bring awareness to. Like that mindset, those thoughts, that's got to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Like thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for letting me. Yeah.
I know that's probably tough, but when I have guests on here, I want them to talk about themselves and help promote anything that they have going on. Given that's a terrible situation, but it happened. But look where it got you.
Exactly.
You have your own show. You've risen above that. And as my wife just said, and I fully agree with this too, that asshole needs buried under the fucking prison. That is my thought process behind that.
So he did 4 months in county jail, never made it to prison. He did 4 months in county jail for attempted murder. He got out in good time before I could walk without a walker. I got the phone call that he was being released on free soil, and I was like, "No, you're letting the wrong person go."
Yeah.
And like I had even convinced the officer that called me that they were letting the wrong person go. I was like, "This dude tried to murder me," and they were like, "Well, it was attempted murder," and I'm like, it doesn't matter. There are parts of me that still died that day just because he sucked at the one job he sought out to do, and I was strong enough to live. That his goal was not for me to live.
Right.
So that attempted murder, it pisses me off. Like that whole thing. Luckily, you sucked at what you were trying to do, but your goal was to murder me. You thought you murdered me. You turned yourself in and confessed to murder.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be charged with. Before I could walk, literally without a walker, he was released, and they said he was released on good time. And I said, but I've not had good time.
No.
How does he get good time? How is that our judicial system? And he's not a registered sex offender, so he's living next door to your children right now. I have a friend that peed. So I live close to downtown, so I'm at this big like campus area, and if anyone knows anything about football and the balls and all that, like I live really close to there. And a friend of mine went under the bleachers to pee. He was drunk. He shouldn't have done it. No one, 0 people saw his penis. Someone could just tell that's what he was doing and reported him, and he was arrested. He is a registered sex offender for peeing under a bleacher where no one's seen him. Granted, he should not have done that, right. But this man that literally raped me is living next door to your children right now after 4 months in county jail and not a registered sex offender.
See, if he would have went anywhere past the county jail system and actually made it to prison where he belongs, in my opinion, he wouldn't have lasted 4 months in there. Yeah. Because they have a special kind of hatred, those inmates, for what he did.
Yeah.
And you know what? I wish... I hope he fucks up again and gets sent to prison and they find that out.
He's been back twice. And you know, for minor charges, but of course it violates a probation. And of course I was told that if he violates the probation, he goes to finish his 12-year sentence, but he'll do a couple of months and he gets out. But you know, man, what terrifies me the most is we are in such a place and time with technology, and he now has 3 kids. What if one of them is gay? Everyone Googles, ever since Google has been around, everyone wants to Google themselves and their parents, right? I never, on my show or anyone else's show, I never use my attacker's name, but it's a simple Goog, you know? Mm-hmm. And when one of his children Googles his name and hate crime pops up, attempted murder toward a homosexual pops up, what if they're gay? That is why people turn to alcohol. That is why people turn to drug abuse. That is why people turn to suicide, because this shit and thinking that one of his children who might be gay could Google him and see this, and that prevents them from living a good, healthy life. That's terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't even really have words for that. Just how terrible that actually is. And you know, again, I mean, I'm sorry you went through that, because we've built a relationship here, me and you, with, you know, following each other's shows and on social media. I now see you all over my TikTok and all that. Now that we finally,
thanks. I'm trying to be better.
Now that we finally started to follow each other and realized we were following each other for the longest time, but you know, I'm glad you came out on the other side, because there's a lot of people that don't. And I wanted to get that message out there on my show and everything like that to help out with anybody that's going through that. You have people you can reach out to. I tell
absolutely.
people, I tell everybody all the time, you need to reach out to me. If I don't care what time of day it is, my phone is always on and within arm's reach of me. Yeah. And I have a buddy. He is a police officer in Wheeling. He's one of my fraternity brothers, and he still claims to this day. We'll get back to a little bit of a funny point here, but it's not going to start out sounding funny. So just bear with me.
Sure.
That I saved his life is what he tells everyone. Mike Bono saved my life. I'm just like, dude, you got to stop saying that, because we were at school. We were drinking the night before. Everyone kind of went to bed. He was still sitting in the lounge of our fraternity house playing video games, whatnot. Well, I wake up the next morning to go down to the cafeteria for breakfast, and I look, and he's still in the lounge. And I look at him, and I said, "Hey, you going to the caf, or are you just going to sit here and play video games?" He's like, "Oh, is it dinner time?" Dinner time? It's 7:30 in the morning, man. What are you talking about? He goes, "Oh, I need to go to bed. I've been drinking all night." And he says if I wouldn't have told him that, he wouldn't have went to bed and he wouldn't have stopped drinking. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that, I woke up for breakfast early one time, and he was just sitting out there just being a dumb 18-year-old kid in college,
Right.
and playing video games, and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was 7:30 at night." It's like, that thing's called the sun, my man. That's it's morning, brother. Like let's go to bed. But he tells everybody, Mike Bono saved my life.
But I think that's a great story to share, because what you think is so small to you, so big to him.
Yeah.
If he would have kept going and drinking the way that he was, he probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
Just you, like, using your words and shaking him back into reality, and him having that oh shit moment, that's big to him. That might be something you do every day. And it seems so small to you. But if he says, Mike Bono saved my life, wear that like a badge of honor, and don't minimize that. That is a cool big deal to him, and it should be a cool big deal to you. Like, it may sound so small to you, but when people, for the most part, and what I've learned in like this victim world, when people say those things, when they truly genuinely say those things, it's not making light of something. It's not to be belittled. It is a true feeling and emotion and experience that this person had, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we laugh about it today. If I do hear from him, because we live 2 hours away from each other and everything like that now, but it's still just, it's funny to me that was, he didn't realize, because he was, I mean, okay, I love this man to death. He's not the smartest human being on the face of the planet. Like, he's a big redhead, and he called himself an Mikey Ginger Prime Low. That is what he called himself, Ginger Prime. And he would always say, like, "Oh, I'm never gonna make it out of here because I don't have a soul because I'm a ginger." Like, he would always make light of the fact that he was a redhead, because everyone had always, "Oh, you're a ginger, you're this, you're that," and he's not a little man. Like, he's a big dude, to the point where he would just come and pick me up for no reason. Like, literally wrap me in a bear hug and just pick me up and start carrying me around. And it's like, dude, I get it. Like, I'm not the heaviest person in the world right now, but do you gotta carry me around? Like, can we just put me down and
Can you, or even just act like it's a little bit of a struggle?
Yeah, make grimace. I know you're not. I can tell you're not. Like, it's just stop carrying me. Like, I don't like this. There was one time I wanted somebody, and again, my wife loves this story, but I met James Harrison from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He came to Bethany College, and they were having a charity basketball game. I was in the basketball game, and I had to guard this freak of a man. If anybody knows the size of this man, like, his arms are the size of my torso. Like, he is a massive human being. And at halftime, they were signing autographs for everybody and everything like that. And I went up to him, I put my shirt down and, asked my name and that. And we kind of went back and forth a little bit because, we were playing against each other and we were guarding each other, even though it was for charity. And I was like, "Excuse me, James Harrison, can you pick me up and rock me like a baby? You are the biggest man I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, can you please just pick me up and rock me like a baby?" That would be everything to me. I'm a huge Steelers fan, one, and, like, two, why are you that big? Like, and he got a good laugh at it, and then during the game, like, I had the opportunity to either take a charge from this man or just get out of the way and let him dunk the ball. Obviously, I'm still alive today, so I got out of the way to let him dunk the ball, and he turned, he kind of flexed at me, and I kind of walked away. I was like, "Yeah, okay, like, I'm taking that charge, James. Get the fuck out of here with your big ass." Like, I don't, it's like, but it's just the fact that, that's the only man that I would ever be like, "Can you pick me up?" Like, to just carry me around. Like, that's where I'm at. But, I love my buddy to death, and it's nice to see him on Facebook. He has four kids now, a wife. He's got a great job and everything like that. So he made it out. and you made it out. So I feel like I'm the common denominator here right now. Is that's what I'm going to say to anybody out there. Reach out to me. I'll help you. I'll help you through it.
Yeah. And so I know that we spend a lot of time talking about, again, some deep, dark, heavy shit.
Right.
But I want to say that I had a really cool experience probably a couple months ago at this point, but I was I was a guest on a podcast, and they were doing some rapid fire questions, and they asked me if I would change what happened to me. And I can remember wishing all of this away at one point. But when they asked that question, when this rapid fire question, I said no. And I was like, wait, what? I literally had to go out to my yard and really process things after the show. And I realized, I've known this part for a while, but I know so many gay people that if this would have happened to them, they don't have the support team that refused to let them die. And they would have laid there and died. I am so glad that I was his target, because I have the support team that refused to let me lay there and die. And so now my mission is to bring awareness to this, to hopefully change opinions and minds of this, and to talk about it so much that it's normalized. And I'm now have those moments where I know that I wouldn't wish this on me, but I wouldn't change it. And I've taken something ugly and I'm turning it into something beautiful. And my biggest point is that I want people to know is that there is life after trauma. And once you take control back and start to enjoy the ride, it's a whole different world. And so I just wanted to, throw that tidbit out, with us talking about such dark stuff, before we moved on, that there is definitely life after. And if anyone needs me, they can find me too. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to have to end here soon, and I got one more segment I got to get in. And,
oh, yeah.
And it's everybody's favorite segment of this show since we've started it, and it's the Fast 55. You mentioned the rapid fire questions. These ones aren't going to be as serious. I'm going to let you know that right now, Dave. They're not kind of rapid fire, but you can elaborate if you need to. And these are the most random questions that you will ever come across. So if you're ready,
I'm excited.
We'll go ahead.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
All right. Question number 1. Would you rather be a kangaroo or a giraffe?
Giraffe.
Okay. Question number 2. Are strawberries overrated or underrated?
Definitely underrated.
Okay. Number 3. If you could live anywhere other than Tennessee, that place would be?
Ireland.
Okay. I got
What did she say?
I got to pause. My wife literally said Ireland at the same frickin' time that you just did. My wife's full Irish. She always wants to go to Ireland, but literally you two sank up and went Ireland at the same time.
I thought I heard her say that.
It's exactly what she just.
My voice does travel.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I've got the red hair, and so my hair used to turn red in the summer. It doesn't anymore. Now it just stays dark. But I love redheads. I love freckles. I love the green in the hills. I love the beer. I have my 7th wedding planned to be in Ireland. I have an amazing partner. Even if I marry him 7 different times, have 7 different weddings, fine. But I love Ireland.
Yeah, that's just it. Literally, you two sank up for a second and said it at the exact same time. That's the only.
She's my bestie. Yeah, proof is in the Ireland.
You two are just destined to be BFFs forever. That's just okay. Anyways, this is question number 4. Would you rather have a chocolate shake or vanilla shake?
Chocolate.
Okay. And question number 5. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would love to have a superpower of being invisible.
All right. I have a strangely different one, and I want to be the Human Torch. Because I'm such a comic book nerd, and that too as well. The Fantastic Four, the Human Torch. Not only can he set himself on fire, but he can fly too. Like, let's just be honest here.
Fair
Like,
enough.
that's a twofer. Like, nobody thinks of that. Like,
You're right. See, like I always struggle with that type of question because I've never been into like the superheroes, the superpowers. And so I've always just thought that if I wanted one, it would be that because I love like the tea. I love the gossip. I always want to know what people say about me when I'm not there, but I also want to know what they're saying about other people when no one else is listening. And so just to kind of sit in and just listen to people just talk but I love people watching. I love eavesdropping.
then me, you, and my wife need to get together and hang out because we talk so much shit. Like, let's just be honest. We also snoop. Like, we were okay. Quick little story before we end here. We were sitting on our back patio area. We were just sitting there smoking cigarettes, just enjoying the sunset and everything. It was getting kind of crisp spring air. We were enjoying it, but we heard our neighbor on her phone, and she was giving somebody the business, and we both were kind of like starting to like lean back closer to her house, like, shut up, I can't hear what she's saying. Like, my wife picked up her chair, moved it to the other side of me so she could be closer to her to hear it. And like my husky started whimpering. I was like, "Shut up! We can't hear Mary. Shut up!" Like we just wanted to know what was going on. We couldn't hear the other end of the conversation. All we could hear was her. Didn't need to. We knew exactly what was going on. Some dude was in trouble. He was in so much trouble.
I love that. My favorite my favorite thing that my partner and I do that just kind of happened organically and naturally is that we will see somebody and even if it's like in the car where you don't see them, you just see their emotion, but we will spend the next hour creating this whole story for them. Oh, yeah. You know, this whole like, this is what's happened. This is what they're doing. I wonder what she's doing now. Oh, I know what she's doing now. You know?
Yeah. Who's she doing now? Yeah. we do that.
My best friend is, and I knew it.
That's my wife and I do that a lot. We're in the car a lot. We travel a lot for me for comedy. My wife has missed in 7 years. She's missed 2 shows. One she had COVID. The other one she had food poisoning. So she was sick both times. I understand it. But like she's never missed a show, and you know we're in the car a lot driving, and we both have road rage like you wouldn't believe, and we yell at the vehicles though. We don't yell necessarily at the person. You don't get the nickname the angry white comic for being even killed. I take it a little far sometimes. I get it. Even sometimes I look at her and go, "Wow, I'm even mad at myself for that one. Like that was bad. That one, I'm sorry. I need to apologize to the Corolla over there. I don't know. But yeah. So I get it. We love to eat. We need to hang out because you'll primo gossip from us.
I love that. I love that.
Ambulance or cop car, shut it the fuck down.
Yeah. Lights from an ambulance or cop car. Everyone shut up. Mute the TV. She's investigating.
I need to know.
She needs to know what happened, what's going on, who's in trouble. She wants to be a witness. I think that's her main goal in life. She wants to be a witness.
Well, so my cat's been missing for 2 weeks, and we're on all of like the local like Facebook like neighborhood watches and stuff. And so we started out with a $250 reward. We're now at $500. I've knocked on every door. I've done all these things. And so I'm like, I know that someone has my cat and they're keeping her for ransom because they're like, okay, if within 3 days, if they've changed it from $250 to $500, if we wait just a few more, they're going to pay her mortgage for the month because you can tell they've got money. Have you seen him? Like I create all this in my head and none of it's true. But
right there with you.
We have a great ability to make up scenarios.
For the circle of violence that goes through and my wife's it's insane.
But I know that's why I want her to do some true crime stuff with me.
Okay.
There you go. She said it on here. Okay, we'll get you two linked up here again soon. But all right, David, I do got to end the episode here, but I do give every guest this opportunity at the end of every show. If there's anything you want to get out there, if it's when you want to promote your show, anything like that, I'm going to give you about a minute, man. The floor is yours. David?
You froze up.
Oh, okay. I said I give every guest this opportunity at the end of every show. If there's anything you want to get out there and promote, if it's your show or just a good message or anything like that, I'm going to give you about a minute, and the floor is yours. Can you not hear me? I think I'm losing David. Can you hear me?
Oh, you made it back.
Hey,
it kicks me out.
I don't know what was happening here. But anyways, like I said, we're
it kicks me out. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Wonderful technology. It's great when it works. But like I said, I give every guest this opportunity at the end of every show. If there's anything you want to get out there, whether it's just a good message or promote your show, anything you want to talk about, I'm going to give you about a minute, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, perfect. And it'll be short and sweet. The message I would like to tell people is it's okay to visit those dark places. Just don't unpack your suitcase and live there. That's when it gets unhealthy. And so I definitely want to hit that. I'm on all the socials, all the podcast platforms, everything is Surviving Abuse Podcast. Please reach out, join, like, share, comment. Even if it's a bad comment or review, it still boosts up my algorithm. So I'll take that too. Like any love and support, and being a part of the community would be greatly appreciated. And man, I'm such a fan of yours, and to be here and to have this with you today and your wife is just the perfect way to. This is a Friday when we're recording, so it's a perfect way to start my weekend.
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. You're the first show that my wife has contributed this much to.
Oh wow!
So, if at all. But like I said, she was super excited for you to come on to the show and to talk to you and everything like that. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. Again, David, Keck, I want to thank you for coming on. This was so much fun. I'm glad we got to share your story on here for everybody to hear and everything like that. Everyone, for all the new listeners out there, please go and peep all of the sponsors that you heard at the beginning of the episode. That is Tactical Brotherhood. That is Reaper Apparel, my own personal merch store, the Stupid Shit Hurt merch store. And we did just land 2 new sponsors that I want to get in here, and that is Dubby Energy. Energy drinks for gamers, by gamers, podcasters, streamers alike. I have tried this stuff. It is phenomenal. It is replacing my morning coffee and Monster in the morning. No jittery feeling, no crash. Promo code Mike Bono will get you 10% off of your first purchase. And what I'm super, super excited about, Shankitgolf. Golf apparel for the average golfer that wants to go out and enjoy it. They give you apparel and equipment to rock it on and off of the course. Please use the promo code Mike Bono, get you 15% off of your purchase. As always, everybody, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankitgolf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.